These days, it's cool to call yourself an entrepreneur, but the real entrepreneurs strive for continuous improvement, innovation, and willing to take risks of detrimental proportions. Join me as we meet the people that are making this happen. One by one, they're sharing the story of their journey as an American entrepreneur. In this episode of An American Entrepreneur, we're going to meet a young man that started a bike repair business at the age of 15. While still in high school, he works out of the garage of the family home and schedules repairs by appointment only. When he started this business, he used the tools he already had on hand, which was about approximately $50 worth. Now, after growing his business, he now has all the tools to do just about any repair needed. So come join me, as I think this episode will be very informative and also highly inspiring. How's it going, Hayden? How are you?
It's good.
Man, thanks for having me out here.
Of course.
So this is your shop here, I see.
Yes, sir.
Give us a little quick tour of what's going on in here.
So over here is where we're gonna store all of either our personal bikes or bikes that have to wait for parts or something like that. And then over here, I'm gonna have most everything that I'm gonna keep stocked. I don't have a ton of space, so I don't stock a lot. I stock pretty much every size tube, and then some like small stuff that you may need for a ride.
See your work area here, huh?
This is where I do all the repairs. So I've got some more parts on this side, some grips, some handlebar tape, chains, and then I've got all my tools, more tubes, and different cleaning products, stuff like that.
You're pretty organized, I see.
I try.
Okay. You got a nice stand here, or work
Yes, sir.
stand or whatever right here.
It's a Park Tool. They're probably the best company to go with for anything bike tool related.
I think you told me, if I remember correctly, you build custom bikes as well. This doesn't look like a familiar bike. Is this one you built?
So what we do is we can if the customer supplies the frame, I have the ability to go and source all the parts for them through my company, and we'll build them. So this is a customer's bike that is getting built. They didn't like the paint that the factory had for it, and so we did a custom paint job. And then it's got getting all different parts that you couldn't get if you just bought it from the factory.
I would think you could go anywhere from maybe a few hundreds of thousands on a custom bike, couldn't you?
You definitely can. This is a lower end build, so it's not gonna cost a lot at the end, but you can definitely get up there if you're gonna go with electronic shifting or stuff like that.
Now, how did you get started in this business in the first place?
So in May of 2020, right after COVID hit, I was not really doing school because school wasn't that, like we didn't have much to do. And so me and my friends kind of were riding bikes around. I ended up breaking my bike, so I bought a bike stand, just a cheap one, and fixed my bike. My neighbor asked if I could fix hers, and I did it because she told me that the bike shop nearest to me was a 2-month wait. And so I was like, well, I could do it way cheaper and way faster. And so we made flyers and posted on Nextdoor and Facebook. I think the first week I had about 4 or 5 bikes, and it grew from there to at the end of the summer I was doing 15 bikes a week plus.
So you didn't sit around thinking, oh, I'm going to start a bike repair business. It just kind of happened.
It wasn't even supposed to last all of high school like it has. It was kind of like, well, I'm kind of bored. I should probably do this. It's better than just getting into trouble doing something stupid. So I kind of just started it, and it got to the point where it's like, well, I've done this much in sales. I have to file it as a legitimate business now. And from there, I was like, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it right. And so when I started buying all the tools slowly, and it's morphed from 4 or 5 tools and a cheap little stand to a professional stand, and all this giant wall of tools. So
And you are, I guess, you're a senior in high school. You're 18.
I will be a senior in high school. I'm 18 right now, though.
Okay. And when you got your first paying customer and you got your first payment, how'd that feel? Or do you remember your exact what the
I
job
don't really.
was?
I know what the job was. It was just like a basic tune-up. So doing the gears, cleaning the bike, doing the brakes on it. This was someone right around the corner. But I didn't know how, like, I don't remember like what it felt like, but I knew after a while it felt like I was doing something good, like I had made an accomplishment, something that not many kids my age had done. So
And you never worked at a bike shop before, so how did you learn how to do all of this?
so growing up, me and my dad, my brothers, that's how we would spend time. We used to live right now, like literally across the street from a mountain bike trail, and so we grew up mountain biking here in Dallas. And one year we took a trip to Colorado, and I was going down the mountain and broke my bike, and they couldn't fix it in Colorado. So when we got back, my dad said, paid to fix it the last time. You need to figure out how to fix it this time. And so at the time I could afford the parts, but I had nowhere near enough the money to fix, to pay for the labor for it. And so I kind of, with the help of my dad, him kind of guiding me and me looking at books and like websites, I figured out how to do it. And I've always been mechanically inclined, more so than my father or anyone else in my family. And so um, my just being able to do it once, I kind of got the repetition, and I kind of grew my knowledge as I went. And now I can build custom wheels, which is very rare. Mm-hmm. It's a very tedious and hard process to do. Not many people can do it.
Now you're working out of the garage of your family's home, right?
Yeah.
So you've taken over this garage, I see.
Pretty much, to my mother's dismay.
So you started this what grade were you in?
I was in the 8th grade.
All right, so you were only doing this, I guess, nights and weekends, or you were appointment only? How were you juggling your customers? I guess you told them, hey, I'm weekends only, or how did you do this?
So at the time, it was right at the peak of COVID. So I think end of February is when everything shut down. So I had about 2 months where I didn't do anything really. And then by that point, school is ending. I'm only doing an hour or two at tops of school per day. And so most of my day I would just come out here and work. And people would drive their bikes over here, or I would figure out a way to convince my mom to drive me to go pick up these bikes. And I kind of did that for a while. And then after a while, my mom was like, all right, this is getting a lot. So I was like, okay, it's appointment only. And I started using Facebook appointments. So we made a Facebook page just for the company. And people would book on there. I'd give them the address. They'd come here. So yeah.
Okay. And how do you do any kind of marketing or advertising? I guess it's Facebook, or how do you pick up new business?
So recently it's been word of mouth, just because I've had junior year's been really busy between football and work and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of really didn't advertise this year. Surprisingly, business hasn't slowed down at all. Right now I'm on track to this will be the best year I've had so far in terms of sales. But right now it's just word of mouth and people Googling bike shops near me, and I'm popping up on Google. But when I do ads, I can do Facebook ads, and I can target specific groups of people or people in my area, and then Instagram like ads, so it'll like show up in your Instagram feed or on your Instagram stories.
Okay. Do you have more work than you can do right now, or is it just right now? How's it going right now?
I think right now it's just right. I'm probably doing about 4 to 5 or 6 bikes per week, which since right now it's in the school year, is perfect because I'm getting ready for finals. Just finished spring football, so it's just enough that I can get done in 2 days on the weekend. But I'll be able to do more in the coming weeks as summer comes and I have almost all day to work every day of the week.
Okay, and I know you're going to college
Yes,
soon.
sir.
So are you going to continue this, or what's the plan for this?
At the
while you're in
moment,
college?
we haven't come up with like a foolproof plan. I'd love to keep doing it, and I'd love to like open a full retail space one day. But that'll probably be after college because I know I'll have to focus on school. And if I can run a business in high school, I can probably run a business in college too.
I guess it depends on how many
Yeah.
classes you take
Yeah.
as well. What are some of the plans you have for this business long term wise, or are you just pretty much just doing it to make some extra money? I mean, do you have long term plans possibly for this business?
There is a possibility of doing it long term. I would love to do it. I think the bike industry I want to stay in. If I don't do this specifically, I'd love to do something with a company in the bike industry. It's just an awesome like community of people, and it's. I never thought I would be doing this. I've always wanted to be an engineer, but I couldn't imagine doing anything else now. So if there's a chance for me to keep this going and have a full retail shop, then that's probably what I'll end up doing.
Well, after hearing your story, it sounds to me like you never really intended on being an entrepreneur.
No, it kind of just happened. It wasn't really planned. Nothing here, nothing I've ever really done here is planned.
Well, that's cool.
It's kind of just like either by necessity or by want.
Okay.
So yeah.
What are some things you've learned that you know today that you wish you knew when you first got started?
Oh, that's a good
Or
one.
maybe any big mistakes you made and you went, darn, and you figured it out and you don't make that mistake anymore. It's kind of another same question, really, just
I
worded
think
differently.
Something I would have done differently would have been filing as a legitimate business sooner. With the biggest issue with COVID was there's so many people going outside and riding their bikes that the supply chain was awful and it was almost impossible to get parts. And because I wasn't a legitimate business, I couldn't buy through a wholesale dealer. And if I could, I would have been able to have parts on hand and gotten them much easier and probably would have turned a profit much faster because I was having to buy parts at full bore retail and sell them at the same price.
Yeah. So you're just making your money on the labor.
Yeah, that's what I was doing at the beginning. Now I've got at this point I have 4 wholesale dealers and I think 4 or 5 different bike brands that I can sell.
When you first got started, I know you mentioned when you were showing us your tools, you didn't have a lot of tools. About what was your initial investment, or what did you have when you first got started, dollar-wise, if you could estimate, and tools versus what you have now?
So I think to begin with, I had a pair of Torx T-handles and a set of Allen T-handles and a couple pliers that were like in my toolbox. Like I said, I've always been handy and I've always had some tools, but like bike specific tools, I probably spent maybe $50 on tools to begin with. Right now, given a rough estimate, I'd probably say I have a little over $2 or $3 grand in tools. That's including like I consider like the stand or like the wheel truing stand behind me. That's a tool.
You mentioned you build custom bikes. How
Yes,
do
sir.
you get into that?
So really, my dad wanted me to build him one. So he saw a frame that he wanted, but he didn't like the parts that were on it. So he found that he could just buy the frame, and he knew I could put stuff together. So he was like, I'll buy the frame and all the parts, I just need you to do it. And after I did it, I did a series on my Instagram, and you can go back and look at it, but did a couple different posts where I slowly built it up over a couple months while we got the parts in. And I was like, well, I could do this as like a service. And so the most recent one, besides the one I'm working on now, was a custom steel bike. But the guy had me order all the parts for him. He kind of just went with, he kind of just asked me, like, can you suggest stuff I should do for it? And that's kind of how it went.
As far as Big Boy Bike Repair, did you have other names that were a possibility, and what were they? Or you knew it was just going to be Big Boy Bike Repair?
So in middle school, one of our coaches called me Big Boy. So we were kind of like, well, it fits, and I'm doing bike repair. So that was kind of just like just what we went with. It was just real easy to decide that.
What advice would you share with anyone that was thinking about starting a bike business? What kind of advice that would be helpful to them?
I don't think you really need that much to start nowadays, as long as you have someone in house that you can that's very knowledgeable. The biggest challenge for me was finding a mentor in the bike community that could help me, and I've found a couple people now, but someone that you can ask the hard questions to, or someone that's been in the industry for years, is like the biggest help. So someone you can turn to if things get hard. But yeah.
How did you come up with your pricing?
When we originally started, because it wasn't technically a business at the time, it was just me doing stuff on the side. We kind of just Googled like, what is the average cost for this, and kind of like cut the prices by like half or by a third. And that's kind of what we started at. But I was told at one point that I had so much volume at one point that I was like, I have to raise the prices because the workload's getting too high. And I assume with the economy going the way it is, I'll probably have to up them at some point too. But
okay. Well, you don't have a lot of overhead like some of these other places. I mean, they got a lot of employees, a big shop. I mean, they've got just a lot of overhead, and you really don't have any, I guess, since you're in your family's garage. Yeah. So
I mean, if I stay here too long, they may charge me rent.
Okay, well then you just don't pay them and let them sue you, right?
Yeah.
Well, Hayden, I appreciate you coming on, man, and sharing your story. I appreciate it a whole lot.
Yeah.
I think two of the biggest takeaway Hayden shared with us is this. Number one, you don't have to have a lot of capital to start a business. He started with a very minimum set of tools, and now he's got pretty much all the tools he needs to do just about any repair. And secondly, he is self-taught, but he was smart enough to go out and find some mentors that could really guide him along the way whenever he comes up with some challenges that he really needs some help with. Well, I hope this video was very inspiring and helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Curtis Mohlberg. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.